Hello and welcome. I'm Mark Eliason, one of the consultants here at ReleaseTEAM, and today we're going to be talking about automating your application delivery. On today's agenda, we'll be talking a little bit about my background, and we'll also give you some history about ReleaseTEAM. From there, we're going to talk about some general DevOps challenges out there in the world today, and we're also going to talk about some of the application delivery solutions, as well as take a look at a live demo of how one of the vendors in the DevOps space helps deal with some of these issues. Now, while this is a pre-recorded session today, I'll leave you with a couple of email addresses that you can use to contact us if you do have questions about this session or if you'd just like to discuss some of your DevOps needs. So a little background about myself. I've been working in the DevOps and software configuration management world for over 18 years at this point. I've been with ReleaseTEAM for the last few years, but I've actually known the guys that started the company since around the year 2000. In the last couple of years with ReleaseTEAM, I've also achieved certifications from Atlassian in both JIRA Administration and Agile Development, and I also do quite a bit of work with a lot of the other vendors in the DevOps space. Right now I'm also coming to you from sunny and warm Madison, Wisconsin, which coincidentally it's December and it's really neither sunny nor warm, so hopefully it's nicer where you're sitting today. A little background for you about ReleaseTEAM. We are a veteran-owned company and have been helping organizations with their DevOps and CM needs since 1999. In fact, we've been doing DevOps since before DevOps was actually a buzzword. But our roots actually do go deeper than that. Our consultants typically have an average of 15 to 20 or more years of experience in the industry. ReleaseTEAM is a full-service organization, so whether you need help upgrading a system, you need training, you need help evaluating or replacing your entire DevOps process or tool set, or maybe you just need someone in place as a long-term resource, we can help you with all those needs. Now, one of the things that sets ReleaseTEAM apart from other service organizations is that we partner with many of the industry leaders in DevOps solutions rather than just aligning ourselves with one vendor. So we always want to help you find the right solution for your needs, no matter where it comes from. Today we're going to be looking at some of the examples of how Atlassian can play an important role in your DevOps success. But keep in mind that tools are only one part of a successful DevOps environment, and you can absolutely succeed with any combination of the tools you see here. Here's a quick look at some of the organizations we've worked with over the years in both the public and private sector. So whether you're in government, military, retail, e-com, healthcare, telecommunications, really any industry that you find yourself in, we can certainly help you. And keep in mind that every organization is truly different. So we always work with our customers to find a balance between sound DevOps practices and solutions that are tailored for your organization or for your industry. So let's move on to some modern day DevOps challenges. One of the realities of working in the information age is having to sort through more and more data in both your home and personal lives. So when you think about solving this challenge, it really comes down to how you're able to filter out noise so you can zero in on what matters. Can you get the right information delivered to the right people at the right time? Do you have the right systems in place to help control, or better yet, eliminate information overload? Next, we also have application and device overload. So along with all of the data we have to sift through, think about how many systems and devices we're also juggling these days. There's server and desktop applications, there's cloud applications, mobile applications, and we're accessing all of these systems from desktops, laptops, smartphones, tablets. Even refrigerators these days are connected to the internet. Now, much like the amount of information we have to manage these days, how do you get rid of technology clutter when you're at your desk or on the go? We also have to deal with warp speeds. How many times have you been asked or told you need to get your product to market faster? Systems that make it difficult to manage information can slow you down. Application and device clutter can slow you down. Bad performance in systems that don't talk to one another can also slow you down. So the question here is, do the systems you use help achieve your quality and velocity goals, or do they hold you back? And finally, we also are dealing with globally distributed teams. Gone are the days where systems and teams only live within the walls of your office building. Your coworkers and teams might sit next door to you, or maybe they're an hour away, or these days it's just as likely your coworkers are half a world away. The question here is, do your systems suit the needs of an increasingly distributed workforce? So let's come back to DevOps. We know that one of the goals of DevOps is to break down silos. You want to create streamlined processes that align your development and operations teams, making it possible to reliably create quality products and services for your customers. The question still remains, though, how do you get to that point? How do you keep all of your people, processes, and systems in sync? How do you keep on top of all the information that goes into a release cycle? How do your teams work together and share information? Or how do your systems talk to one another, and how do you automate them? In the consulting world, we're often called upon to help people understand where they are and where they need to go. And the question always comes up, what are the best practices in DevOps? Or is there a right way to do everything we want to in DevOps? Well, of course, the simple answer is no. There's not one right way to do it all. But there are a lot of good ways to help you set the stage for success. And today that brings us to Atlassian. While Atlassian has a vast portfolio of solutions designed to help you in many different DevOps areas, today we're going to be focusing on 3 solutions and 3 pillars in a DevOps toolchain. So first we're going to talk about JIRA software for tracking and managing issues through workflows you have the ability to define. Next we're going to talk about Bitbucket combined with Git for code level development and collaboration. And finally, we're going to take a look at Bamboo for automating how you build, test, and deploy applications. So next we're going to hop into a demo where we see specifically how these tools deliver a solution that can help you collaborate, integrate, and automate. Inside of JIRA, we're going to kick off our development from work that's already being tracked in the system, and we'll also see how development information feeds back into here as we progress towards a release. In Bitbucket, we'll also make some modest modifications to code. We'll also perform a code review, and finally we'll integrate our work. And then lastly, we'll see what a deployment pipeline looks like in Bamboo, and also see what it looks like when the results of our changes either pass or fail. So here we are taking a look at a JIRA dashboard. I'm currently logged in as a user that plays a role on several different teams inside of JIRA. But one of the things that I want to mention with JIRA and remind us about getting the right information to the right people is that we're looking at a dashboard that can be customized for different users based on their own personal preferences or based on the roles they perform on the projects that they care about. So right now we see a dashboard that's specifically set up for the entire system. But if we also take a look at another user's dashboard, in fact, if we just slide over to the next screen here, we'll see that I'm logged in as a completely different user, and under this login I've created my own dashboard that allows me to see the things that I care about. So remember, in this case we're trying to get the right information to the right people, also at the right time. JIRA dashboards are one of the ways that allows us to do that. So let's go back to my original user. This is a user named Alana, and we're not going to talk too much about the individual issues that are stored inside JIRA, but I do want to take a look at one of the projects that we've got stored in this demo system. So I'm going to navigate into this mythical Teams in Space project. And from there, I'd like to take a look at what you see in front of you, the release panel or the release hub. This is an area that again allows us to help get the right information to the right people at the right time. It helps us eliminate information overload and clutter by allowing us to zero in on the information that really matters when we're trying to produce a release. So here you can see that we've got a number of different releases that are already planned and are already underway in some cases. It's also really easy to see the status of some of these releases. As we scroll over and take a look at the progress for this particular release, we can very easily see how many issues have actually been done or completed already, and one work is left to be remaining. And of course, if we want to see more details about that release, it's just as easy as clicking into that release to get that level of detail. So here again, we can see that we've got 24 issues in the version. We've got most of them that are done, but we've still got a little bit of work left to do. So let's go ahead and click into that and see what we're talking about. In this case, we can see that there's just one issue left, and it just so happens that Alana is assigned to this issue. So let's open that issue and see what this looks like. And in fact, we're going to kick off our development effort right from here. So again, ideally we want to work in an integrated and automated environment. One of the ways that we're going to show that is to actually create a branch inside of Bitbucket directly from this JIRA issue so that we can start a development effort, but start it from the place where the work is already being tracked. At some point, we're also going to see that these activities that we perform in these automated and integrated systems will again feed back all the way to this JIRA ticket. So let's create a branch. It's literally as simple as clicking on the Create Branch button. What we're looking at now is actually a screen that's inside of Bitbucket. It's automatically for us creating a branch name. As you can see here, in the Bitbucket server version, we also have the ability to define different branch types. So if we want to separate the different types of coding efforts that we've got inside the system, it's really easy to do that and communicate the purpose of a branch above and beyond just the name of the branch itself. In this case, we'll just say that we're working on a feature. The next thing that I want to highlight here is from an automated and integrated standpoint, you can also see the build results from the master branch directly here in the Create Branch screen. So again, it's another way to help eliminate some of the information overload or zero in on some of the stuff that matters because you're automatically seeing the results of the most recent build on that branch. And of course, if you saw a red X on that spot, you might consider whether or not you want to maybe defer that branch or maybe branch from a different spot. In this case, though, we know that this branch is good to go. Let's just go ahead and proceed with that. So it's really that simple. From JIRA, we've created a branch. The act of doing that now brings us directly into the Bitbucket system where I can go ahead and get started on my work. Now, in a real-world scenario, developers would typically use tools like SourceTree from Atlassian or maybe a third-party tool such as Tower to actually manage the commits and pushing those changes back to Bitbucket. Today we're just going to do a really simple edit directly inside of Bitbucket. We're not even going to edit any source code, so to speak. We're just going to make an edit to this README file. But based on how the changes are then tracked inside of Bamboo, we'll still be able to see a build automatically kick off from this effort, and then we can see how that information ties all the way back through the system. I do want to jump back to JIRA for just a second though, because we've created a branch from our JIRA ticket. And our JIRA ticket has a workflow associated with it. So let's talk about that for just a minute. I'm going to go back to the issue that we'd started with. And you'll see that currently the issue is in a draft status. But if we click on the View Workflow button, we can see that this ticket would have originally started from the open status. The act of creating a branch has automatically transitioned this ticket forward for us to the draft status. And again, that's one of the integration points that's really nice with this solution in that you don't have to do a lot of scripting, and sometimes you don't have to do any scripting for this type of automation to take place. So the act of creating the branch has automatically transitioned this ticket forward for us. We're also going to see as we progress through some of the tasks in Bitbucket that this workflow should update for us automatically as well. You'll also notice in this development panel that we now have a link to the branch that we've just created. So if we want to get back to that, it's really simple to just create that link or select that link, click all the way back to the branch, and we'll be back at a pretty similar to view that we left before. So here we are again taking a look at the list of sources that are available to me in this repository. And again, we're just going to make a quick edit to this README file. And in this case, I'm just going to create a version reference within the document. Let's say that this is going to be version 1.0 of the README file. Now this isn't the same as saying this is going to be source code version 1.0. This is really more just an example of a marketing style version that you might include in a file like this. So let's go ahead and commit that. In my commit message, I'm going to also note the issue number that I'm working with inside of JIRA and commit that change into the repository. And let's go back to JIRA one more time. Again, from an integration standpoint, we now see some additional information that's been added to our development panel. In addition to the branch that we've noted, we also now see that there's been source code committed on that branch. Again, this is a great way to help integrate and automate your DevOps environment. So if we click on that, we can see specifically the commit that we've entered, and if we wanted to, we can also see the files that have been modified from here too. So back in Bitbucket, let's go back into that repository and we'll take a look at our branch again. Now this is a very simple modification and we're not really going to do too much more with it at this point, but I do want to mention a couple of other things here about integration and automation. You'll notice off to the right when we're looking at the details of this branch that we've also got a build result. That's because checking in this code automatically initiated a build for us in Bamboo. And again, this integration is a very easy thing to set up in the Atlassian stack. There's no scripting required for the things that you see here right now. But from a development perspective, obviously my work is just sitting out on its own branch right now. We still need to integrate this back to our master branch, or in some environments, maybe you're going to be working with a develop branch, a QA branch, etc. The point is, we still need to integrate this work to share it with others. So to do that, we're going to create a pull request. If you're familiar with some of the other Git vendors out there, like GitHub or GitLab, in GitHub, you'd also be creating a pull request, or in GitLab, this would be the step that you would know as a merge request. So let's go ahead and create a pull request for this branch. This is the way in Bitbucket that developers collaborate on their work together. It's also a way for us to perform code reviews of this work before we integrate it to the next step. Now typically I would probably add some description in here. We'll just say please review. And I'm also going to add a reviewer to this so that I can make sure that the development work that I've done at least has another set of eyes on it. So a couple of things to note here. From a process management standpoint, this pull request is ready to review, but I also want to mention we don't have the ability to physically merge this pull request yet. And that's because we've been able to set up policies that make it very easy to say that we don't want these pull requests merged until we've got a proper number of approvals. In this case, I've configured this repository so that we can't actually merge things until there's at least one approval on the system. You can also require that there's a successful build before we're allowed to merge that forward. So my next step is I actually need to get this pull request approved. So to do that, I'm going to slide over to my other browser and log into Bitbucket as a different user. So here I am logged into Bitbucket as Cassie. Now I'm going to back up to the original screen here because you'll see that I also have a type of dashboard inside of Bitbucket as well. So again, it's really easy to see the information that I care about in one easy to access spot. Here's the pull request that was just submitted by Alana. If I go ahead and take a look at that, we have the opportunity to take a look at the changes that were introduced to that file. Of course, in this case, it's a really simple modification, so I'm just going to go ahead and approve this pull request. Now when I do that, notice that that merge button is now highlighted. I'm going to just go ahead and merge this as Cassie, but of course your workflow policies and procedures might be a little bit different, so maybe somebody else will be doing this merge for you. So merging is that easy. We can see that it went through just fine. Now here's the other thing that's going to start happening. I'm going to go back to Alana's view and take a look at the branches. If we take a look at the master branch, which is where we just merged that code to, you'll see that that branch has been updated and there's also another recent build that's passed. So we haven't looked specifically at Bamboo yet, but let's click through to this build result and see what it looks like. So here we are looking at the results of the build that just took place for us automatically. And let's talk about a few things that we see here. Number one, we've got the ability to very easily see what our deployment pipeline looks like. In this case, we've got several high-level stages, and we also see representation of the different jobs that take place in each one of those stages. It's very easy within Bamboo to see the build results for each one of those individual jobs, as well as to see the overall results of the build itself. We can also see the test results here, and in this case we have a few tests that have been quarantined or skipped, but we can also see, of course, that there have been no failures in this build as well. Now, from a deployment perspective and automating your deployment pipelines, this type of project has been configured so you can see that this has automatically been deployed to an environment that we've defined in the Bamboo system. So in this case, building this branch was triggered automatically by the fact that we merged code in Bitbucket, and this project has also been configured to automatically deploy those code changes to our QA environment. Of course, if this build failed, nothing would have happened with the QA environment. It would remain clean with the last successful build. Let's back up to Bamboo's main dashboard as well, because I also want to talk a little bit about project organization in this tool. So when you think about all of the different types of build projects that might exist in your organization, those numbers can actually get to be quite overwhelming. In this particular view, there are permissions that can be set to help limit people's visibility to the projects that exist in the system. So in this case, I see this many projects, but I also have the ability to kind of filter down my own dashboard by saying I want to select my Bamboo, and in this section of the application I can actually define just my own favorite build plans that I pay attention to most frequently. So again, in terms of helping deal with information overload, this is another one of the tools that the Atlassian products provide for us, in that we can actually narrow down the information that we care about and help reduce some of that clutter that can exist in systems. So let's go back to the Apollo UI project so we can actually run a build and see what that looks like. Here we are looking at the master branch in this repository, and in this case, that's the one that we're going to build. It's as simple as coming over to the right, selecting Run, and we'll just run the plan as is. And from there, we'll be able to see each one of these individual stages and jobs kick off. Now, this is a fairly small project. Of course, yours will probably take a bit longer to build, but remember, from an automation standpoint, this code is now built, and we've automatically deployed our changes to an environment that's been defined in the Bamboo system. But we also have a step that could be fired off manually if we want to. So even though we can automate your delivery, we can also introduce steps that still have to be done manually. Now in this case, we also have a concept of the deployment project. The project that you see here is all about building, testing, and assembling the source code that we've modified in Bitbucket. Bamboo also allows us to define deployment projects that are dedicated to deployment efforts. As long as all of these tests have passed and we're happy with the results of those tests, we can also use this to deploy our project into the production environment as well. And it's really as simple as, in this case, clicking the deployment option, telling we want to start it, and we're done. Now, bringing it full circle, let's take a look at JIRA one more time. So let's talk about some of the information that's updated in this issue. Number one, we've seen that our workflow has changed for us once again. After we submitted a pull request and that pull request was approved, that information in an integrated and automated fashion fed back to the JIRA ticket and moved it forward to that next step in our workflow. We've also now seen in the development panel that in addition to the branch and commit information, we also see that a pull request was submitted for that, and we know that the pull request was merged. And we now also have access to the build results from that JIRA ticket. Along with that, from a deployment perspective, we can see specifically what environments this ticket has actually been deployed to. We also see from an issue link perspective that we've got a link to a Bamboo branch that's been created in our build project. So again, think about integration, automation, and collaboration. Everything that you've seen here so far is configurable out of the box. Now, of course, if you do want to create even deeper integrations, you can leverage the Atlassian API to do that, or look through the Atlassian marketplace for add-ons that give you the power to perform a lot of tasks from a simpler command line interface. And one of the areas that you might leverage that type of automation would be in developing further workflow hooks, so that maybe you also want to transition your issues as you promote things from environment to environment. So that's it for our demo. Let's take a look back at the presentation, and I'd like to leave you with a few parting thoughts. So number one, orchestration isn't easy. Releasing products and services to your customers is an incredibly complex task. Your DevOps solution needs to help you manage lots of moving parts and information no matter where and how you work. So when you're looking for DevOps solutions, you really want solutions that perform well in cloud, server, data center environments. You also want to make sure your solutions work how you work, and often this means you want a web architected platform with the same look and feel across all devices. You also want to make sure that solutions give you the power to control information you see and when you need to see it. Remember, we want to get the right information to the right people at the right time. Atlassian does deliver these solutions, as do many of our partner solutions. And even though we didn't look at it in the demo today, I do want to mention that the Atlassian look and feel across mobile devices is very similar, if not identical sometimes, to what you see in the web UI. Next, collaboration, integration, and automation are key components to your success. And of course, as we've seen today, the combination of JIRA, Bitbucket, and Bamboo can help you in each one of those departments. So you can collaborate through comments, shared filters, pull requests, and code reviews. Atlassian tools also integrate out of the box, where you can achieve end-to-end traceability from ideation to development to deployment. And you can also help jumpstart automation through built-in triggers and other features that are available to you out of the box. Lastly, one of the most important things to mention here is that there are many ways to achieve DevOps success. And it's not just about doing one thing or two things. It's really about a journey that has a lot of options. And of course, ReleaseTEAM is here to help you on that journey. So I hope you enjoyed what you saw today. Again, if you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at any of the email addresses you see here. And until the next time, hope you have a great day.